Have you ever noticed how the strongest men often stumble, not on the battlefield of business, not in politics, not even in war, but in the quiet, intoxicating presence of a younger woman? You've lived decades. You've seen heartbreak, rebuilt yourself, tasted failure, and risen stronger. You've carried burdens that could break lesser men. Yet all it takes is the smile of someone half your age, full of mystery and fire, to throw even the wisest man off balance. Suddenly, your years of discipline and dignity can slip away in moments. This isn't about age gaps. This isn't about romance. This is about something deeper, the timeless struggle between desire and discipline, between the fleeting rush of dopamine and the eternal weight of self-respect. Stoicism teaches us that true power lies not in controlling others, but in controlling ourselves. Marcus Aurelius warned that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Yet too often, older men trade that strength for a few moments of validation from someone who hasn't lived even half their story. This video is not about judging you, it's about waking you up. If you've ever felt yourself bending, performing, or losing ground in the presence of someone younger, this message is for you. Because the truth is simple. A stoic man doesn't shrink to fit into another's world. He stands firm and lets the world adjust around him. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share with you is not just dating advice, it's a philosophy of life. 10 principles drawn from the ancients, proven in modern times, that will teach you how to rise above temptation, reclaim your center, and live as the kind of man whose presence cannot be shaken. Lesson 1. Don't try to be her age. Authenticity as stoic strength. One of the most common mistakes older men make when they find themselves around younger women is the urge to become something they are not. They soften their edges, change the way they talk, adjust their style, even shift their worldview just to seem more relatable, more youthful, more in tune with her world. It usually begins innocently. She mentions some trending influencer you've never heard of, and instead of admitting it, you nod along. She laughs about some viral video, and you force a smile as if you know exactly what she means. You even consider dressing like her peers, swapping your timeless style for something trendy, believing that blending into her world will make you more appealing. But here's the truth: the moment you start pretending, you lose the very thing that made you interesting in the first place. A stoic man doesn't shrink himself down to fit into someone else's frame. He understands that his years, his scars, his failures and victories are not weaknesses. They are his greatest strengths. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." If you are grounded in yourself, living with dignity and principle, you don't need to pretend to be 25 again. Your value isn't in keeping up with her world. Your value is in showing her a world she hasn't even begun to imagine. You've lived through heartbreaks, recessions, betrayals, personal battles that tested your soul. You carry depth. She may bring energy, excitement, spontaneity, but she does not bring the gravity you hold. And it's that gravity, that unshakable presence, that makes you magnetic. I knew a man named Richard, 52, who went on a date with a younger woman. She asked if he used TikTok. He laughed and said, "Honestly, I prefer books that last centuries instead of videos that vanish in seconds." She laughed too, but here's what mattered: she leaned in. She was intrigued. He wasn't trying to mimic her world. He reminded her that he wasn't her peer. He was her contrast, and contrast creates attraction. Now compare that with Steve, another man in his 50s. When he started dating a 28-year-old, he fell into the trap of becoming the cool older guy. He bought clothes that didn't fit his character, dyed his hair, and quoted memes he barely understood. At first she was amused, but within weeks she lost interest. Why? Because he stopped being himself and turned into a parody of the man she was drawn to. Women, especially younger women, can sense when a man is trying too hard, and nothing kills respect faster than inauthenticity. The Stoic truth is simple: authenticity outlives trends. Trends fade, slang changes, youth passes, but character endures. A younger woman doesn't want you to be like her peers. If she wanted that, she would date them. What draws her to you is that you are different, that you move slower, that you don't need to chase validation, that you stand firmly in who you are. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The friction of your life has given you polish. Don't hide it, let it shine. And here's a simple way to live this out. The next time you don't know the reference she makes, don't fake it. Instead, smile and say, I don't follow that world much. Tell me what you enjoy about it. That one honest response communicates more strength than pretending ever could. The paradox is this: the moment you stop trying to be relatable, you become unforgettable. A man who bends himself into someone else's mold is forgettable. A man who stands firmly in his own identity leaves a mark. So don't chase youth, don't mimic trends, don't perform for applause. Stand as you are, because authenticity backed by the wisdom of years is the most attractive thing you'll ever bring to the table. Lesson 2, don't be her emotional sponge presence versus absorption. There is a trap that many older men fall into without even realizing it. And it doesn't come from lust or ego, it comes from compassion. You meet a younger woman, and at first it's lighthearted and fun, but then she begins to open up. She tells you about her difficult childhood, her toxic ex, her struggles with work or anxiety. And because you're older, because you've carried storms of your own, you listen. You want to be the safe harbor she never had. It feels noble, it feels mature, and you tell yourself this is what makes you different from younger men. This is what makes you valuable. But slowly, without noticing, you shift from being her anchor into becoming her therapist. You stop being the man she's attracted to and start being the man she leans on for emotional release. You become the sponge that absorbs her chaos, her tears, her drama, her late-night spirals. And the more you absorb, the less she respects you. Being present is good, listening is good, but absorbing, letting her storms flood into you until you're sinking, that is not stoic. That is self-betrayal disguised as kindness. Epictetus taught it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Notice the focus, your reaction, not hers. You cannot solve another person's turmoil by letting it drown you. Take David, 49, divorced and hopeful. He started dating a woman 20 years younger. At first, everything felt alive. Then she began unloading her pain onto him. He listened, comforted her, stayed on the phone for hours, even canceled his own commitments to prove he was different. He believed it was intimacy, but she began to see him not as her man, but as her counselor. She left, and the bitter irony was she left for someone who gave her less attention. Why? Because women don't respect men who lose themselves in their emotions. They respect men who can hold space without being swallowed by it. Now contrast that with Marcus, 54. He dated a younger woman who sometimes brought her chaos to him. Instead of fixing it, he listened calmly. Instead of absorbing, he reflected. When she cried about her ex, he simply said, "That sounds painful. I hope you give yourself the grace to work through it." He didn't rescue her, didn't stay on the phone until dawn, didn't let her turbulence dictate his life. He offered presence, but not rescue. And because of that, she respected him. He was not her sponge. He was her rock. That is the Stoic frame. Presence means being steady enough to witness without judgment. Absorption means losing yourself in her storm. Presence builds respect. Absorption drains it. And older men are especially vulnerable to this trap because they've lived through more. They've developed empathy. They think, I can handle it, I've handled worse. But that's not the point. The point is, do you want to waste your strength fixing what isn't yours to fix? Her childhood, not your control. Her ex, not your control. Her chaos, not your control. What is in your control? Your presence, your calm, your decision not to trade your peace for her storms. Here's a practical way to practice it. If she calls you crying late at night, resist the urge to dive into rescue mode. Instead say, "That sounds like a lot. I trust you'll figure it out." Short, steady, present. That line shows that you care without sacrificing yourself. It shows you're there, but you will not be pulled into the undertow. And paradoxically, that makes you more attractive. Because instead of being the man she can manipulate with her tears, you become the man she respects for standing firm. Seneca said, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." When you act as her sponge, you take on suffering that isn't yours. That isn't noble, that's waste. A Stoic man is not an emotional janitor. He is not a sponge. He is the lighthouse. He shines steadily through storms, whether anyone follows his light or not. That is the difference between being her crutch and being her compass. So ask yourself, are you being present or are you being used? Are you offering calm wisdom or are you sacrificing your peace? A younger woman may find temporary comfort in a sponge, but she will always respect the man who refuses to drown with her. Be present. Don't absorb. That is the way of the Stoic. Lesson 3, don't chase validation. Self-respect is your foundation. There is a subtle shift that destroys countless connections between older men and younger women. It doesn't come in one dramatic moment. It creeps in slowly, almost invisibly, and it's called chasing validation. At first, it feels harmless. You compliment her more than you should. You wait anxiously for her replies. You soften your words so you don't upset her. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You nod along to things you don't believe in just to keep the peace. Piece by piece, you stop being the man you are and start performing for approval. And the moment you do that, you hand over your power. She becomes the one holding the frame, and you become the one nervously waiting to be chosen. Nothing kills attraction faster than neediness. A Stoic man does not beg for applause, does not bend his principles to keep someone interested. He knows that respect and desire flow from self-respect, never from compromise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Think about that. How often do men betray themselves just to hold on to someone's approval? How often do they sell their dignity for a few words of validation? And what happens when you do? She starts testing you. She takes longer to reply and you panic. You double text. You send memes just to restart the conversation. She can feel it. Women sense neediness like animals sense fear. The more you chase, the more she withdraws. Not because she is cruel, but because she instinctively respects men who hold their ground. Respect doesn't grow where neediness lives. Consider Tom, 48, successful and divorced. He began dating a younger woman. At first, things were natural, but soon he started bending. He complimented her endlessly, rearranged his life to suit her avoided conflict by filtering his truth. Slowly, she lost respect until one day she told him, "I just don't feel the spark anymore." What she really meant was, "You lost your edge." Now contrast him with Henry, 55. He dated a woman who tested him constantly, delayed replies, flirtations meant to shake his balance. Henry never chased. When she pulled back, he stayed centered, focused on his work, his training, his circle of brothers. He didn't need her approval, and because of that, she leaned in. She respected him precisely because she could not knock him off center. This is Stoicism in practice. Validation is the drug of the weak. Self-respect is the diet of the strong. When you stop needing her approval, you send a signal more magnetic than any flattery, "I am whole without you." And here's the paradox. The moment you no longer need her to clap, she starts listening more closely. The moment you no longer need her agreement, she begins to respect your words. Women don't admire men who bend. They admire men who stand firm, even if it costs them the relationship. Let's make this practical. Imagine you text her and she doesn't reply for 6 hours. If you're centered, you notice it, but you don't panic. You don't double text. You don't stew in anxiety. You keep living. You keep moving forward. And when she finally replies, you aren't bitter or sarcastic. You're simply present. She feels it that your life is bigger than her reply time, and whether she admits it or not, she respects it. That's the power of a man who doesn't chase validation. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Stop seeking applause. Stop trying to prove your worth through someone else's eyes." A man who needs validation erases himself. He trades his identity for temporary approval. Peace bought at the cost of dignity isn't peace, it's slavery. The Stoic man flips the frame. He doesn't ask, "Does she approve of me?" He asks, "Do I approve of myself?" He doesn't wonder, "Does she see my worth?" He reminds himself, "My worth is not up for debate." Every time you chase validation, you shrink. Every time you hold your center, you rise. And when you rise, she either rises to meet you or falls away. Either way, you win. So remember this, you don't need her to clap for you. You don't need her to agree. You don't even need her to stay. You only need to stay centered. That is the way of the Stoic. Lesson 4, don't try to impress, lead instead. Direction over performance. Modern dating convinces men that if they can impress a woman, they can win her. Flashy dinners, expensive gifts, clever lines, all of it is presented as the path to attraction. But here's the truth, the moment you try to impress, you lose your edge. Because when you're performing, she becomes the judge, and you become the contestant. You hand her the frame and wait for approval. That is not strength. That is insecurity wrapped in a nice package. Women don't admire men who beg for applause. They admire men who lead. And leadership has nothing to do with control or domination. It's not about barking orders. It's about direction, presence, and clarity. It's about a man who knows where he is going and moves with certainty regardless of whether someone else approves. That is what creates trust, and that is what creates attraction. I knew a man named Robert, 51, who met a younger woman. On their first date, he tried everything to impress her. He told story after story about his career, boasted about his travels, dropped hints about his wealth, and ordered an expensive bottle of wine he didn't even like just to look sophisticated. She played along politely, but within weeks she disappeared. Why? Because she sensed he wasn't being real. He was performing, and performance always fades. Now compare him to David, 56. He also met a younger woman, but instead of showing off, he invited her into his world. He chose a simple cafe he enjoyed, wore the style he had always worn, and when she teased him about being older, he didn't flinch. He smiled and said, "I've earned every year I carry, and I wouldn't trade one of them to be 25 again." That wasn't a line. That was truth. And that truth was magnetic. She leaned in because he wasn't trying to be her peer. He was standing in his frame, and that strength drew her closer. That is the paradox. The more you try to impress, the less attractive you become. The moment you stop trying, you become unforgettable. Leading doesn't mean being loud. It doesn't mean trying to dominate. It means showing direction, holding your standards, making decisions with calm certainty. It means saying, "Let's meet here," instead of nervously asking, "What do you want to do?" It means listening to her perspective, but not changing your opinion just to keep her comfortable. It means investing in your mission, your discipline, your growth, instead of wasting your resources trying to buy her interest. Women, especially younger women, may test you. They may push against your boundaries, criticize your choices, or pull back to see if you'll wobble. The man trying to impress will bend. The man who leads will stay calm. And that calmness is what makes him magnetic. When she sees that you are not seeking her validation, when she realizes you move according to your principles, whether she approves or not, she feels a rare polarity. She feels the difference between a man who performs and a man who leads. Seneca once said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." If you have no direction, it doesn't matter what you do, you'll drift. But if you know your port, if you are living with purpose, no test, no silence, no flirtation game can shake you off course. A man who leads knows his mission. He knows his values. And whether she chooses to walk beside him or not, he continues forward. That certainty, more than money, more than words, is what makes him unforgettable. So stop rehearsing clever lines. Stop buying what you don't like just to win her approval. Stop trying to impress. Instead, stand in your truth. Speak with calm conviction. Move with direction. Because when you lead with presence, you no longer need to win her over. You simply live as a man she either aligns with or loses, and either way you remain whole. Lesson 5. Don't project fantasies too soon. Observation over imagination. There is a dangerous mistake many older men make when they meet a younger woman. It doesn't happen because of malice. It happens because of excitement. She's beautiful, she's vibrant, she's showing interest, and suddenly your mind begins racing. You imagine vacations together, dinners with her family, maybe even a future marriage. You play out scenes in your head that have not yet happened, and before you realize it, you've built a castle of fantasies. The danger is that once you start projecting too far ahead, you stop seeing her clearly. You no longer pay attention to who she really is. You no longer observe her actions. Instead, you respond to who you hope she might become. Every red flag becomes a phase. Every gap in values becomes something you believe can be fixed later. You minimize what matters because you're addicted to the fantasy. But Stoicism reminds us that hope without clarity is nothing but self-deception. Epictetus warned that before you act, remind yourself of what it truly is. Dating is not fantasy building. It is data collection. Early on, your role is not to imagine 10 years into the future. It is to pay attention to the present. Because when you lose presence, you lose the ability to see reality. I knew a man named Dean, 52, successful, emotionally intelligent. He met a woman in her 20s who was magnetic and playful. Within 2 weeks, Dean was telling his friends she might be the one. He changed his schedule to fit hers, skipped business trips, adjusted his finances, even altered his priorities because he was convinced this was destiny. But the truth was simpler. She wasn't consistent. She canceled last minute, she ghosted him for days. She said one thing and did another. Instead of confronting it, Dean romanticized it. He told himself she just needed time. 3 months later, she disappeared without closure. And Dean was devastated not because he lost her, but because he lost the dream he had created in his mind. He wasn't grieving her. He was grieving the fantasy he built alone. This is why Stoicism insists on observation. Potential is a dream. Patterns are reality. Attraction can spark overnight, but compatibility only reveals itself through time. If she's inconsistent now, that's who she is today. If she's immature, that's who she is today. You cannot project a version of her that doesn't exist yet and then invest your heart in that illusion. Because when you do, you commit too soon, you rearrange your life, you sacrifice your priorities, and you risk not just feelings but time, energy, and dignity. And a Stoic man slows down. He allows chemistry to exist, but he doesn't let it blind him. He pays attention not just to what she says, but to what she does. He notices how she handles disappointment, how she reacts to stress, how she treats others when she's not trying to impress. Because that is where the truth lives. Observation grounds you in reality. Projection traps you in illusion. Let me give you a practical frame. When you feel yourself fantasizing too far ahead, stop and ask, what has she shown me through consistent behavior? Not promises, not potential, but patterns. And then ask, does this align with my values? Or am I ignoring red flags because I want the fantasy to be real? A man who observes sees clearly. A man who projects blinds himself with his own imagination. Seneca once wrote, "Life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future." Notice that wisdom. Neglecting the present is exactly what happens when you live in fantasy. You skip over who she is today and live in who you hope she might become tomorrow. And that blindness costs more the older you get because your time is more valuable now than ever before. The paradox is that when you stop projecting, you actually become more attractive. Because instead of showing her a man who clings desperately to a dream, you show her a man who is grounded in the present, who isn't rushing, who is watching carefully. And that steadiness makes her respect you whether she stays or not. So don't build castles in your head before the foundation is proven in reality. Don't sacrifice your mission for a dream she has not earned. Slow down. Observe. Let time reveal who she really is. Because a Stoic man doesn't fall for illusions. He lives with clarity, and clarity is what keeps him free. Lesson 6, don't be her backup plan, protect your energy. One of the hardest truths for men to accept, especially older men who find themselves involved with younger women, is that sometimes you are not her first choice. You are not her priority. You are not the one she dreams about at night. Instead, you become her backup plan. You are the man she leans on when the one she really wants is absent. You are the shoulder she cries on when another guy breaks her heart. You are the text she sends when she's bored, not the text she sends when she's inspired. It feels like affection, but it's really convenience. And if you're not careful, you'll confuse the two. She will flirt enough to keep you around call when she's lonely, disappear when someone else enters the picture, then return when that same person lets her down. You tell yourself she just needs time or she's figuring things out. But deep down you know, you are not her priority. You are her option. And that should never be acceptable to a man who respects himself. Stoicism teaches us to honor ourselves, to protect our energy, to never trade our dignity for half-hearted attention. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." The inverse is just as true. Avoid those who reduce you to half of who you are. When you allow yourself to be a backup plan, you slowly shrink. You become more agreeable. You hide your truth so she doesn't walk away. You wait by the phone. You rearrange your schedule for someone who wouldn't do the same for you. That isn't love. That's erosion. I knew a man named Paul, 47, who met a younger woman through mutual friends. She was magnetic, charming, unpredictable. They spent time together, but it was always on her terms. She disappeared for days, then called in tears about another man. And Paul, thinking his patience would win her, always answered. He thought being supportive would make her choose him. But what she saw was not romance. What she saw was a man she could use as her emotional safety net until someone else called. One night she told him, "You're like my safe place." It sounded sweet, but it wasn't attraction. It was convenience. And that night, Paul realized the truth. He wasn't her partner. He was her placeholder. So he cut contact. 3 months later, she reached back out. This time, her tone was different because she realized he wasn't waiting in the shadows anymore. He had reclaimed his position by refusing to be an option. That is the Stoic way. You do not beg for attention. You do not cling to scraps of affection. You hold your standards, and if she cannot meet them, you walk. Because women do not fall in love with the man who is always available. They fall in love with the man who knows his worth and will not settle for less than respect. So here's the practice. If she only calls when she's sad but never when she's joyful, step back. If she ghosts for days and then returns expecting your full attention, stop replying. If she treats you like an emotional sponge, let her chaos pass through you instead of soaking it up. You don't need to argue, you don't need to explain. You simply withdraw the privilege of your presence, quietly, firmly, without drama. Your energy is not cheap, and the more freely you give it to those who haven't earned it, the less valuable it becomes. The paradox is that when you stop being her backup plan, you actually become more attractive. Because absence speaks louder than presence. The moment she realizes you will not always be there, the moment she feels your boundary, she has to decide whether she truly values you. And if she doesn't, that's clarity, and clarity is freedom. A younger woman might enjoy the comfort of having a man she can lean on whenever she pleases, but deep down, she doesn't respect that man. She respects the man who says, "I will not be your filler. I will not be your option. I will not stand in line while you chase someone else." That man commands respect not because he demands it, but because he lives it. So never be her backup plan. Protect your energy. Walk with dignity, because the man who values himself never has to beg to be valued by others. Lesson 7. Don't lose your mission for her purpose before passion. This is the point where many strong men become weak and they don't even notice it happening. It's not when she ignores you, not when she tests you, not even when she pulls back. It's when she makes you feel special, when the chemistry is strong, when the emotions are high, when you begin to believe she is worth bending for. And so little by little you start to shift. You skip a gym session, you postpone a business meeting, you put off that idea you've been working on. You spend less time with your friends, more time glued to your phone. You start responding faster, rearranging your plans and adjusting your life so she feels more comfortable in it. It feels harmless. It even feels romantic. But it is the first step toward losing yourself. Because here is the truth. Women, especially younger women, don't want to be your mission. They want to feel safe with a man who already has one. They want to be part of your fire, not the reason you extinguish it. The moment you trade your mission for her comfort, you begin to lose her respect. At first, she may enjoy the extra attention, but eventually she feels the shift. She senses that you are no longer the man who was building, striving, moving forward. You've become a passenger in your own life, and nothing kills attraction faster than a man who abandons his path. I knew a man named Jordan, 45, who built a successful company from scratch. He was driven, disciplined, alive with purpose. Then he met a younger woman who was playful and magnetic. At first he held his course, but as things grew more emotional, he began to bend. He skipped business trips to spend more time with her. He adjusted his mornings to match her late nights. He delayed an important investment because she didn't want him traveling so much. From the outside, it looked like love, but from the inside, he was drifting. He lost focus, he lost his edge, and eventually he lost her. Why? Because she no longer felt the leadership that attracted her in the first place. He had stepped off his mission, and with it, he stepped out of her respect. Stoicism teaches us that a man's worth is tied to his ambition, his direction, his commitment to living with principle. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions. The moment you trade your ambition for comfort, you become forgettable." A man without a mission is easy to replace. He becomes reactive, dependent on her moods, living and dying by her approval. And when she senses that her attraction fades, the paradox is that the more you stay on mission, the more magnetic you become. A man who continues to build, to grow, to train, to speak his truth, whether she likes it or not, is the man she respects. She may test your priorities. She may challenge your direction. But if you hold the line, she feels your weight. She feels the presence of a man who refuses to bend for convenience. That more than money, more than attention, is what makes her feel safe. So never confuse love with surrender. If she is truly right for your life, she will encourage you to stay on mission. She will want to see you obsessed with your work, committed to your discipline, living by your code. And if she leaves because you didn't put her first, then let her go. Because a man who remains on mission never runs out of options, but a man who abandons his mission to hold on to someone who doesn't value it eventually runs out of himself. Stay on your path. Wake up on time. Train even when you don't feel like it. Keep building. Speak your truth even when it sparks conflict. Let her feel the gravity of a man who doesn't extinguish his fire for comfort. That is the Stoic way. Purpose before passion, mission before romance. Because love that costs you your identity is not love, it is self-erasure. And a man who knows his worth will never trade his destiny for approval. Lesson 8. Be the rock, not the puppet. Unshakable masculinity. Every younger woman, whether she realizes it or not, will test the man she is with. She will push, she will pull, she will probe, not always out of malice, but because she wants to feel whether you are solid. She wants to know if you are the rock she can lean on, or just another puppet she can control. Sometimes she will flirt and then withdraw. Sometimes she will criticize your habits. Sometimes she will throw sarcastic comments or even try to provoke jealousy. And the question is not whether she will test you. The question is, will you wobble if you change your behavior to please her moods? If you rearrange your identity to fit her temporary desires, you become the puppet. And puppets never feel safe. Being the rock does not mean being cold or distant. It means being steady. It means showing her through your energy that no matter what she throws at you, you remain who you are. If she flirts to make you jealous and you snap, you failed. If she criticizes your style and you immediately rush to change it, you failed. But if you smile calmly and stay centered, if you refuse to bend just to win her approval, you show her the weight of a man who cannot be shaken. That is what earns respect. I knew a man named Drew in his 50s, successful, but recently divorced. He began dating a younger woman who was playful and unpredictable. At first, everything felt easy. Then she began to test him. She flirted in front of him. She mocked his clothes. She said you'd look younger if you dressed differently. The old Drew would have panicked. He would have gone shopping, changed his wardrobe, tried to win her back through compliance. But this Drew, grounded by experience, simply smiled and said, "That's funny. I like the way I move." He didn't flinch, didn't argue, didn't get defensive. He stayed centered. 2 days later, she reached out again, drawn not because he agreed with her, but because he didn't. That calm steadiness told her everything she needed to know. This man doesn't bend for comfort. Stoicism offers the perfect frame here. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do, that is what being the rock means." Tranquility is not coldness. It is presence. It is the silent confidence of knowing who you are, of refusing to let someone else's moods dictate your identity. To be the rock means holding your tone when she is emotional, holding your standards when she tests your limits, holding your path when she tries to pull you off course. It means being kind without being controlled, compassionate without being manipulated. The truth is that most women don't trust the man they can control. They might enjoy it for a moment, but deep down they lose respect. What they truly desire is a man whose yes means yes, whose no means no, and whose decisions are not swayed by temporary emotions. They want to feel the presence of a man who has weight, who cannot be blown over by a gust of mood. That weight, that steadiness, is the essence of unshakable masculinity. So remember this: if you collapse at the first sign of pressure, you are a puppet. If you hold firm with calm and dignity, you are the rock. And the rock is what she will respect long after beauty fades, long after the games are over. Don't let yourself be pulled by her strings. Let her feel your weight instead. That is the paradox. By refusing to bend, you create the safety she truly craves. By staying the rock, you show her that your center cannot be moved. And whether she chooses to stay or walk away, your respect for yourself remains intact. That is the way of the Stoic man. Lesson 9, don't buy her time command. Respect through presence. There is a dangerous idea many men, especially older men, carry when they date younger women. They believe that if they spend enough money, offer enough gifts, shower her with attention and comfort, she will stay. But here's the brutal truth. You cannot buy genuine attention, not the kind that matters, not the kind that lasts. You can only command it. When a man starts overpaying in any form through money, through endless compliments, through bending his life around her, he communicates one message: my value is external. He tells her, if I don't spend, if I don't give, if I don't keep proving myself, she won't stay. And the moment she senses that she may remain for a while, but not out of desire, she stays out of convenience. She is there because it is easy, not because it is magnetic. And a woman who stays for convenience is already halfway out the door. A younger woman with options doesn't need a sponsor. What she responds to is a signal, a presence, an energy that tells her you are not trying to earn her interest, you naturally attract it. A Stoic man doesn't hand over his resources to prove himself. He embodies self-respect so deeply that his time feels valuable, even if he spends it alone. He doesn't seek to win her through performance. He lives in such a way that if she is allowed into his world, it feels like a privilege. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That is the essence of commanding respect. You don't perform goodness. You embody it. You don't buy her attention. You live in a way that draws it without effort. True presence speaks louder than any gift or clever line. Consider Dan, 50 years old, who met a 27-year-old at a networking event. She was vibrant and clearly used to attention. Most men tried to win her with money, with favors, with compliments. Dan didn't. He set plans that worked for him. He didn't chase her replies. He showed up when he said he would, but he never overextended. At first, she tested him, delayed responses, played with attitude. But Dan didn't flinch. He didn't push harder. He stayed calm, focused, unbothered. And slowly something shifted. She began chasing his time, not because he bought it, but because he didn't need her to validate it. He commanded her attention through presence, not performance. That is the difference. Buying her time tells her your worth depends on her approval. Commanding her attention tells her your worth is already established with or without her. When you embody presence, she leans in because she feels gravity. When you chase with gifts and effort, she leans out because she feels desperation. So the next time you feel the urge to prove yourself through buying, through over-giving, through excessive attention, stop. Ask yourself, am I trying to purchase her interest, or am I living in such a way that she naturally wants to be around me? A Stoic man remembers that his energy, his discipline, his mission, his presence are the real currency. And those cannot be bought, borrowed, or faked. They either exist or they don't. The paradox is simple. The less you give away to buy her interest, the more she values what you do offer. The more you chase, the cheaper you appear. You don't win respect by flooding her with effort. You win it by living in such a way that she must lean in to catch your rhythm. So don't buy her time. Command her respect by being the man who doesn't need to. That is the way of the Stoic, and that is the difference between desperation and dignity. Lesson 10. Let her earn your depth, guarding wisdom until it's worthy. As an older man, you carry something that younger men simply do not. You carry depth. You've been through heartbreak, failure, recovery, triumph. You've lived through seasons of doubt and seasons of strength. You carry scars, some visible, some invisible, that tell the story of a man who has endured. And that depth, when revealed at the right time, is magnetic. But too many men make the mistake of giving it away too soon. They meet a younger woman, she's beautiful, she's charming, she seems curious, and suddenly they start opening the vault. They tell their entire life story on the second date. They reveal their fears, their mistakes, their secrets, thinking that vulnerability will build intimacy. But instead of drawing her closer, it overwhelms her. Because real connection isn't built on how much you reveal. It's built on what she proves she can handle. You don't hand the keys of a Ferrari to someone who just got their learner's permit. Not because the car is invaluable, but because they're not ready for the responsibility. In the same way, you don't hand your deepest truths to someone who hasn't earned them yet. You may think that being open quickly shows strength, but in reality, it often shows neediness. Depth shared without discernment feels less like connection and more like pressure. A Stoic man doesn't rush to reveal his inner world. He allows time and consistency to show whether the other person has the maturity to handle it. He observes how she reacts when things don't go her way. He notices whether she keeps her word, whether she respects boundaries, whether she shows emotional steadiness. Only when those patterns are clear does he begin to share more of himself. That is restraint, that is self-mastery. I knew a man named Mark, 53, who met a 29-year-old artist. On their early dates, she asked probing questions about his past, about his childhood, about his struggles. Mark felt the urge to unload everything, but he resisted. Instead, he flipped the script and asked her, "How do you usually handle conflict?" He watched her reactions, not just her answers. He let weeks pass, observing whether she was consistent and whether she could stay calm under stress. Only after she showed steadiness did he begin to share his deeper truths. And because he waited, when he finally opened up, it landed with weight. She respected it because she had earned it. That is the difference. When you pour out everything too soon, it cheapens your wisdom. But when you guard it until it's worthy, it becomes powerful. Seneca once wrote, "As is a tale, so is life, not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." The same is true of sharing yourself. It's not about how fast you get deep. It's about how real it becomes when you do. So let her earn your depth. Don't confuse guardedness with coldness. You can still be warm, playful, present, even charming, but you don't need to hand over your soul to anyone who smiles at you. Your wisdom is valuable. Your scars are valuable. Your story is valuable. Treat them that way. If she has the maturity to walk beside you, she will prove it in time. And if she doesn't, you haven't wasted yourself on someone who was never ready to receive it. The paradox is this: the less you reveal early on, the more your presence intrigues her. The more you hold back, not out of fear, but out of self-respect, the more magnetic you become. Because she feels there is more to discover, and more importantly, she feels that she has to rise to the standard of a man who values his own story. So don't give your depth away cheaply. Guard it, protect it, share it only when it has been earned. Because when you live this way, your words carry weight, your stories matter, and your presence becomes unforgettable. That is the way of the Stoic Man. Conclusion: living as the Stoic Man. You've heard the lessons. Don't try to be her age. Don't be her emotional sponge. Don't chase validation. Don't perform to impress, but lead with direction. Don't build fantasies before the truth reveals itself. Don't allow yourself to be her backup plan. Don't trade your mission for her comfort. Be the rock, not the puppet. Don't buy her time, command her respect. And above all, let her earn your depth. Each of these lessons points to one truth: the greatest strength of a man is not found in his ability to please, but in his ability to remain centered. Women, especially younger women, will come and go. Beauty fades, moods shift, attention drifts. But your character, your mission, your self-respect, these are the things that last. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, surrounded by power and temptation, wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't talking about dating, but the wisdom applies. You cannot control her emotions, her choices, or her loyalty. But you can control how you carry yourself, how you respond, how you stay aligned with your principles. The world tells men to chase, to prove, to bend, to give, until they are empty. But Stoicism tells you the opposite. It tells you to stand firm, to live with dignity, to honor your mission above all else. Because love without self-respect is not love, it is dependency. And relationships built on performance always collapse. So ask yourself now, am I living as a contestant waiting to be chosen, or as a leader already walking his path? Am I giving away my energy cheaply, or am I guarding my presence as something valuable? Am I chasing validation, or am I grounded in self-respect? The answers to these questions define not just how women see you, but how you see yourself. The paradox is simple. The less you chase, the more magnetic you become. The less you bend, the more respect you command. The less you seek applause, the more unforgettable your presence feels. Women don't truly want men they can control. They want men they can trust. And trust is built not on words, not on gifts, but on consistency, discipline, and the calm weight of a man who knows who he is. So walk with purpose, train your body, discipline your mind, protect your energy, build your mission, and let those who belong in your life align themselves with your path, not the other way around. This is how you remain unshakable. This is how you live with dignity. This is how you become the Stoic Man, not because you follow trends, but because you embody timeless strength. Remember, you don't need her to clap for you. You don't need her to agree. You don't even need her to stay. You only need to stay centered. And when you do, you win no matter what.